Hello everybody and welcome back. In this video we'll be setting up the basic lighting in our scene, and we're also going to be doing some basic tone mapping as well. Okay, so it's going to be a fun one, so let's just dive straight into it, shall we? All right, okay, so as you can see, we have our scene in front of us here. If we jump into our other view, you can see that, all the basic elements are in there. And so this really is a pretty good time to start putting in some lights and seeing how, this scene looks like when it's rendered out. Okay, now the first step that we want to take here is we want to open up the render settings. We want to make sure that V-Ray is set as our renderer. And we also want to untick save because we don't want to save any frames just yet. And then what I'm also going to tweak in here under the comment tab is I'm going to enable the denoiser because we'll want to get to that noise-free image a little bit earlier if possible, right? And denoisers can really help you with that. Now, with denoisers, you have three different options you can choose from. You have the default V-Ray denoiser. This one can run on both the CPU or the GPU. Generally speaking, it is a little bit more quality focused. So for interactive rendering, it might be a hair slower to update, but it might produce a little bit better, more detailed results potentially. Okay. Then you got the NVIDIA AI denoiser. This one runs on the GPU. And it, generally speaking, it could be, it is probably a little bit more focused on the speed rather than the quality. And then you have the Intel Open Image denoiser, which is kind of a bit of a balanced option. Okay, it runs on the CPU. It can produce really good results, and it's also quite speedy. Okay. Now, I'll opt for the NVIDIA AI denoiser here myself, just because the NVIDIA AI denoiser has been there for a while now, and I've just become used to it. Plus, technically, we're probably splitting hairs here, but it might be the fastest to update when doing interactive rendering. Although that said, it might not produce the most quality-focused results. But anyway, I'm just used to it, so that's what I'll be using here. Now, do note that for the NVIDIA AI denoiser, you do obviously need an NVIDIA graphics card. And as an additional note, do note that for the V-Ray denoiser, if you're using hardware acceleration on the GPU, you can use it on AMD hardware as well. Okay, cool. The next option that I'll tweak here is the image effects update frequency. I really would like to emphasize that this is a personal preference here. I like to up this value to 100. It does take away some system resources because the image effects inside the V-Ray frame buffer are now going to update more frequently. So image effects such as the denoiser, for example, it's just going to refresh more often, and obviously this is going to take away some of those compute cycles. But with that done, I think we're good to go here, and now we can start placing in some lights in our scene. Now, straight off the bat, I can see two different ways on how we can set up some sort of a basic lighting for a scene here. So the first way would be to use the V-Ray dome light in conjunction with an HDRI bitmap. Okay, and the other that would offer us a bit more control over how our lighting works would be to use the V-Ray Sun with Sky system. Now, at this point, we're trying to be creative, and we're gonna experiment a little bit. So let's try bringing in a V-Ray dome light. Okay, and we'll see where that takes us. If we don't like it, we can always go back and we can use the V-Ray Sun with Sky system. So with the V-Ray dome light in front of us, let's make sure that we're under the texture menu here, and let's toggle the use texture toggle here, which is going to unlock this dome text slot, because in here we're going to plug in our HDRI map. Now, I'll be using these CG source HDRIs. You can obviously use whichever ones you prefer, but it's always good practice to load your HDRIs into the V-Ray bitmap shader. Okay. Because this way you have more advanced control over your bitmaps. Now, I don't think we'll actually need that kind of control right here for this HDRI, but it's always good to be prepared, right? Now, if you do use the V-Ray bitmap, just make sure that your color space here is set to a linear. Otherwise, gamma corrected or sRGB options are going to clamp the pixel information of your HDRIs, and you really don't want that because that would defeat the purpose of using the HDRI in the first place. Okay, so always make sure that your HDRIs are coming in with a linear color space set. All right, Cool. So with that done, I think we could start rendering our scene out. So let's bring up the V-Ray VFB and let's start the interactive renderer by clicking on this teapot with the play button there. And as soon as we do that, check this out, we're in action here. So the really cool thing about rendering with the interactive renderer is that we can adjust our scene any way we see fit, and the interactive renderer is going to be updating the image with those changes. So basically we'll be working almost in real time here. So with the dome light selected, I would like to play around with the lighting a little bit. So I want to rotate the dome light, okay? So we can see if we can get a bit of a different lighting scenario going. Okay, so this kind of looks interesting to me. We have the sunlight coming in from this diagonal angle, if you will, and it's sort of hitting these walls in a very interesting way. Okay, so we're creating these nice shapes here. Okay, where the light is shining onto our walls and floors and so on. Okay, so I'm kind of already happy with this setup here. Okay, but what I'm not happy with is the fact that, you know, as you can see, these walls are sort of gray, the floors are gray, the couch has its own material, right? And then this plant wall apparently has a bit of a material of its own already applied, and so it's kind of whiter than the rest of the materials here. So whenever you're trying to adjust the lighting in your scene, it's really useful to have a material override on all of your materials, essentially. Okay, because that way you'll have one single material applied on all the objects in your scene, and that's going to make it a little bit easier to gauge what that lighting is doing in your scene. Okay, so let's set that up. To do that, let's bring up the material manager here. Let's create a new V-Ray material. Let's make sure that it's called properly. Okay, so well, let's rename it to be called override material, because, you know, organizing your scenes is always smart. And then let's go under the reflection menu here, and let's give our material here some reflections, okay, by clicking on the color input field and giving it a pure white color. That's going to make the reflections work at 100%. And then let's also lower the glossiness, because we don't want those mirror-like reflections. Okay, cool. So let's now stop the interactive renderer. Let's bring up the render settings as well. And then let's toggle material override here to on. And in here, we're just going to plug this override material into the custom material slot. All right, and that's pretty much it. Now what we've essentially done is we've said that V-Ray is going to take this material here and it's going to apply it on all of the objects in our scene. And as you can see, you know, that just gives us a bit more of a consistency in our scene, because now all the materials have this exact same white material applied to them, and now it becomes just a little bit easier to gauge what this lighting is doing to our scene. Okay, and I'm kind of liking how it looks like, to be honest, but you know, there's still room to experiment here. Now before we start moving the light around, let's adjust the exposure a bit here. So we're going to go under the VFB layers here, and we're going to bring in an exposure layer. Then we're just going to up the exposure. Okay, now we're not gonna fine tune this. We're just, you know, trying to come up with a more balanced image here. And what we could also do here at this stage is we could bring in a filmic tone map layer, and this one is just going to give that nice filmic curve to our rendered image here. So as you can see, you know, those highlights roll off a little bit more smoother, a little bit more gradually, and the darker parts of our image, you know, they also have a bit of a roll off to them. So we're kind of emulating that filmic look here. Now with the filmic tone map operator, you actually have a couple of different types of filmic tone map operators that you can use. Right now we have the type set to Hable. Hable really allows you to go in and fine tune how that curve looks like. Okay, but for me personally, I really enjoy using the Ampus type. All right, this one is kind of predetermined. Okay, you can't change the curve, but I really like how it looks like. So let's just stick to Ampus for now, but obviously, you know, you can choose whichever and you can play around as you see fit. Now, now that our image is tone mapped, we've also adjusted the exposure, right? I think we could still play around with the lighting a little bit more and see what we get, okay? So we're using the dome light now, but I'm thinking, hey, we could have a little bit more control over the lighting if we bring in the V-Ray sun and sky system. Okay, so let's do that. Let's bring that in. Let's disable the HDRI dome light. Okay, and now we're actually going to have to tweak our exposure again. So we're going to have to lower it this time. So maybe if we lower it down to -2 or something like that. Again, we're not fine-tuning things at this point. We're just playing around, seeing what we get. And then what we could do is we could start moving the V-Ray sun around a little bit. Okay, so let's just let's try to mimic what we had with the HDRI here. Okay, so to do that, I'm just going to rotate the sun a little bit. I'm going to position it a little bit higher maybe. And, you know, we're just gonna tweak it. All right. So at this stage, you're really just experimenting, as it's all what you're doing. Okay, so just moving the V-Ray sun around and trying to see what you can get out of it. Now, I think I kind of like this setup, because check this out. I really like how well we're getting the foreground here is getting illuminated real nicely. You know, we're getting these shapes happening, okay, but these shapes kind of continue on that back wall behind the sofa as well, and then, you know, they kind of continue on this front wall again. Okay, so as you can see, we're kind of getting this nice little, very interesting beam of light coming in. I think this could look pretty interesting. Okay, so let's leave our lighting setup like it's currently set up, but well, actually, we could tweak the V-Ray sun a little bit. I'm not a big fan of just how sharp this transition here between the lit up areas and the areas that aren't directly lit by the sun, how this line is so sharp. Okay, now to tweak that, what we could do is we could go under the V-Ray sun properties here, and we could up its size. Okay, so we're making the sun bigger. As we do that, check this out. That line is going to become blurrier and blurrier, as you can see, right? So this kind of looks like that HDRI that we had before. Okay, but you know, this is too blurry for me. So let's drop the size down, maybe to 5. Okay, maybe to 4. So we're just sort of messing around right now again, right? And as you can see, you know, with the size set at 4, that line is not quite as sharp as it was before, but it's also not that blurry at the same time. Okay, so I think this looks pretty great. What I'm not happy about is that there's not a whole lot of visual interest happening with this light beam. Okay, so it's just coming in and it's this perfect light beam, and I think we could add some details to it, if you will. Okay, so what we could do here is we could add some trees in front of those windows, and then those would cast some really nice shadows into our room here, especially where this really intense sunbeam is coming in. Okay, so to do that, what we could do is we could actually place a couple of actual tree geometries in front of these windows. Okay, that's one option, but I do prefer creating this effect using shadow planes. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a plane object. I'm going to call it shadow plane, and then I'm just going to make it quite a bit bigger. Okay, now that might actually be too big, but you know, we can always resize this thing as we see fit. All right, then let's move it in front of the windows here. All right, so something like this will work fine. And then what we'll do is we're going to create a new V-Ray material. Okay, we're going to call it shadow plane. And then in the diffuse rollout, okay, under the opacity slot here, we're going to bring in a bit of a texture. And the texture that we'll be bringing in is going to be this cutout of a tree. Okay, so let's just open this up so you can visually inspect it. As you can see, you know, it's just this black and white alpha map of a tree, basically. Okay, so I'm going to plug this thing into the opacity slot. Okay, I'm gonna leave the source as default. And as always, you know, I'm going to nest this thing into a V-Ray bitmap. And now we're not getting the result that we want. We're basically blocking the light coming from the sides here, okay? And that is because, well, you know, we're using a material overrides here. So all the materials in our scene are getting overridden. Plus, we haven't actually applied this material to our shadow plane. But the point here is that, you know, because we're using the material override, this is just going to be ignored because it's going to be replaced by the override material. So let's stop the interactive render here. And then let's add this shadow plane material into our exclude list of materials here. Okay, so now if we restart the renderer, what we're essentially saying is that we're using this material override. Yep, but we're excluding this material from being overridden. Okay, that means we're getting this pretty cool effect going here. Look at this. We're getting those nice little tree shadows in our scene. All right, cool. Now, at this point, you know, it's a little bit harder to work with the shadow plane, as you can see, right? Because we don't see how the tree is positioned. Now, to get around that, what you could do is you could just copy this opacity map into the diffuse slot as well. Once you do that, the viewport will refresh, and now you can kind of see how your texture is being mapped here. So we're going to have to turn it around a little bit, place it more towards the window here. And then if we place it closer to the window, we're going to get sharper shadows here. Okay, so let's bring out the interactive renderer over. And as you can see, you know, we're getting some pretty cool effects happening here. So if we bring this mesh closer to the windows, it's going to create more sharper shadows. We move it a little bit away from the windows, the shadows are going to be less sharp. Okay, so at this point, you just need to position things accordingly. What we could also do is we could potentially, well, we could potentially copy, create another shadow plane and use this one for the other window here. So now we can kind of control how the shadows are looking on both of these a bit more independently. Okay. All right. Okay, cool. So before we finish off this clip here, let's also adjust the exposure a little bit. Let's maybe just drop it down a smidge. Okay. And let's make the interactive renderer just a little bit bigger. Okay. So this is what we ended up with right now. Now, obviously, we're still going to want to tweak the lighting and, you know, mess with the tone mapping and so on and so forth. But at this stage, you know, this is a very good first step. Now, me personally, I'm getting a sense of how the scene is going to look like. We're going to have this beam of light come in this diagonal fashion, okay? And we're going to try to maintain this sort of shape of this light beam across these different foreground and background elements, okay? So the floor here at the front, the middle wall here, and the back wall. I think that could look pretty interesting, okay? And then obviously we're breaking up that light beam with these little tree shadows here. Okay, so that's our first step, and this is where we're going to conclude this video number 2. And in the next one, you know, we'll continue developing the scene. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.